One of the things that strikes me is we've got on the monitors, we're seeing all the reunification piece, the hostages being released and reunified with their family members and hugging and tears and so much joy. And yet our next guest is going to talk about World War III. Is it already underway and we just haven't realized it? There was a new opinion piece from the Deseret News that suggests the battlefield may not be physical, but digital.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I was really struck by this is Jay Evensen that we're going to be talking with, but I was really struck by the headline: "If World War III starts, how will we know?" Right? Because it's probably not going to be like a Pearl Harbor, right? It's probably not going to be that.
Well, and we're watching right now Russia. If you ever saw the movie Jurassic Park and you saw the pterodactyls testing the defenses of the fences and so forth. Right now, I think Russia's doing the same thing. Incursions into Polish airspace and other European countries, drone incursions and so forth. And I think Russia is looking to see, will the NATO countries respond? How will they respond? How much can I push them before they start to engage?
Right.
So he knows where those weaknesses are. But we've got on the line Jay Evensen, opinion editor of the Deseret News. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Is World War III already taking place?
Well, it's a bit of a provocative headline, but
you're never known for being provocative, are you?
Almost never.
So, you talked about the drone strikes, and there have been malicious drones in Denmark, Germany, Estonia, Poland, Romania, all within the last year. Denmark had to close the Copenhagen airport on 2 separate occasions and divert several flights because there were so many drones flying around that airport. And, Russia may be gambling that we won't go to war over a drone incursion over the border of Poland, for example. The question is, where do we draw the line? And, of course, there's always this deniability. Russia saying, gee, it wasn't us. I like what Stephen Kotkin of the Hoover Institution said. He said the military-industrial complex is no longer a place, it's software. And our editorial board met with 47G, which is a Utah consortium of aerospace and defense companies. He told us, he said, we may never live in a day where Russian artillery rolls onto U.S. soil, but we go to war via our cyber networks every single day of the week. I found that interesting.
Yeah, my husband works in internet security, and he says, it's not only is it daily, but it's hundreds, maybe thousands of times a day or more, depending on which
what the target is.
What the target is, exactly, right? So what does that look like, Jay, for us in the United States, or for us in Utah specifically?
Well, we need to start paying attention to some of our critical infrastructure and some of our most vulnerable infrastructure. Aaron Starks told us, he said, if you wanted to cripple the United States, you would go after any of our energy infrastructure because, by and large, all over the country, it's antiquated and it's extremely fragile. Now, as far as Utah is concerned, 47G is actually doing quite a bit. And defense and aerospace is now about 1/5 of our economy here in Utah. And there's a lot of work being done to try to shore up infrastructure. A lot of this is kind of your run-of-the-mill malicious behavior, trying to break into bank accounts or large businesses getting into their accounts and stealing money. But others of it is more directed at the military and how to get into some of our critical military infrastructure. We have to start taking this seriously in this country. Now, Holly, you know that I go to Sweden quite a bit because our family has property over there. They are really tuned into this over there. I mean, if you're standing on the edge of the Baltic in Stockholm and looking down the way, you know that St. Petersburg is just a few miles down. And they're very concerned about it. They've retooled their underground bunkers. Now they can hold about 2/3 of the Swedish population with enough food and facilities there to keep them going for quite a while. We're not that tuned in here in the United States, and I think we ought to be.
Well, when you talk about the critical infrastructure, I mean, for a lot of folks, that's really electricity
Right.
and telecommunications.
Right.
And
Yes.
So how do we deal with that? I mean, that sounds like an expensive problem. It sounds like something we're not going to solve overnight. How do we go down that
Well,
path?
a lot of the experts say that it's not. It sounds overwhelming, but it can be just as simple as updating your software, using the patches that come out, and particularly when it comes to our vulnerable computers where we have our banking information, for example. Make sure those things are up to date, but not just individuals, but our companies, our banking institutions, our hospitals, and our critical energy infrastructure, our dams, electrical substations, those types of things need to be updated. And the private sector is going to play a big role in this in providing patches and keeping us on guard against malicious software.
Well, there's certain kind of bombs, EMP or electromagnetic pulse, which you blow that up just above in the air, not bury it into the ground, and it can take out electricity, it can take out our electronic systems, our cars, phones, etc. And so we've got to harden that grid. And there's been many folks sounding that warning for decades now, but we really haven't taken many steps down that path.
Right. We have that, and I think the next big phase in the drone warfare is to have completely autonomous drones using AI that are capable of flying on their own to a target and are very difficult to intercept or to try to counter with some kind of software. And I think we need to be the leaders in that technology, and I'm not sure right now that we are.
Well, not just in the air, but also in water and across the ground. There's all sorts of different drones that they're developing to fight those battles.
Yes.
And we've got several drone companies here in Utah as well.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But one of the things that I saw in your article, Jay, is that you quoted Representative Bacon. He's a Republican in Nebraska, and he's chair of the Cyber Information Technology and Innovation Subcommittee. Could you tell our listeners what he told a hearing in May?
Yes, he was pretty direct, and he said it's time to stop talking about preparing for conflict because we're already in one. I, for one, believe that it's now time that we start acting like it. And he went on to talk about his concerns about how far behind the United States is. He says our adversaries are clearly not deterred from acting against us, and we're clearly not meeting our potential in developing the cyber capability, capacity, and posture that is commensurate with that threat.
You know, one of the things I heard is that you always fight the last battle, right, or the last war. And yet when things have changed so dramatically, I mean, I think we have seen it with not only Israel and Hamas, but we see it all the time now in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia, just the use of these drones they can pick individuals off, they can fly without hurting the operator of the drone, right? That has, again, changed the nature of warfare. What can we do? What is Utah doing, I guess, to be a leader in this space?
Well, Utah is trying to attract a lot of defense industries, and through 47G, I think, as a consortium, they get together and they talk and they work together. There's going to be a big conference here coming up in November, which is supposed to attract about 3,000 people. And so, that's part of what we can do. I think, too, though, I'm worried about the stagnation of bureaucracy. And it's not popular in this country to talk about cutting defense spending. But I think what we need to do is some serious auditing of our Department of War, I guess, as it's now going to be called. And look to see that we're fighting the right war. You hit it right on the head, Holly. We don't want to be fighting the last war, but sometimes you get caught up in large bureaucracies, and it's hard to change that culture and to work in a different direction. I think we need to really look seriously at our Defense Department and make sure that they're on board with what we need to fight the next conflict.
We've been talking with Jay Evensen, opinion editor of the Deseret News, about cyber warfare and the potential for World War III.
Stay with us.
We've got the Supreme Court, new term. We'll be talking about that next session.